This episode of Buy Black Podcast is brought to you by Haptic Consulting. Haptic Consulting specializes in maximizing the value your organization gets from its training budget by focusing on business needs, eliminating unnecessary training development, and helping you build a culture of engagement from the executive level down. Visit www.hapticconsulting.com to learn how I can help you develop better leaders, happier employees, and a more profitable company culture. Or you can email me at gerald@hapticconsulting.com. That's GERALD@hapticconsulting.com. Now let's get into the show.
Black on black is no longer a crime. It is companionship, relationship, marital bliss. Black on black is royal ethnicity, hues inner core, attributes ample breadth, afros outer radiance. Black on black cannot be escaped, watered down nor lamented. It is meant to be embraced. Black on black was never a crime nor a grievance. It is dark matter's explanation, the universe's reprieve, the earth's catalyst. Black on black is humanity's morning sun, God's gift. A mere thank you will suffice.
Buy Black Podcast, episode 49, In Spirit, Power, and Truth. Inspiring Stories and Poetry by Stephanie R. Bridges. Welcome to Buy Black, the only podcast dedicated to helping you find, connect with, and support Black-owned businesses. We're on a mission to bring consumers and business owners together to ignite the global Black economy. I'm your host, Gerald Jones, and if you're a Black business owner or a socially conscious consumer, you've joined the right community. Ready? Let's get to work. Everybody, welcome back to Buy Black, your only podcast dedicated to helping you find and connect with Black-owned businesses. This is episode number 49. We are going to be here again today with Stephanie R. Bridges. In last episode, you guys heard we had a great conversation about buying black, supporting the Black community economically, and also we talked about how to get grants for your individual projects and to support your business. Today, we're going to actually be talking to Stephanie about her work and the books that she has written and the books that she's compiled from works of other people that are available out there, both on Amazon and on her website. And so she's going to do a select number of readings from her different works of art in this episode. It was very, very fun and inspiring to record and to listen to her. And you guys are going to have a great time in the episode today. Before we jump into it, I just wanted to give you a quick reminder. Episode 50 next week. There are huge changes to this program that have really already hit the streets. If you're paying attention, you can already see the changes out there. But next week, we're going to get together and we're going to talk through all the changes that I've made to the website, to the branding for the show, and the way forward. And so I'm really excited about that. I hope you guys are excited too. It's going to be a great episode. But right now, we are here with Stephanie. We're going to get right into it because this is going to be powerful and inspiring. So with this episode, just sit back, relax, enjoy, and feel the power of the work and the words that Stephanie is putting out into the universe for us, for our kids, and for our peers. And after you guys listen to everything we talk about today, I sincerely hope that you will go out, you will find Stephanie's projects, her multiple books for children, her books for young teens, her books for adults. And if you don't need them for you, buy them for somebody else. Links to all of her books will be in the show notes for this episode, so you don't have to go far. But definitely support her projects, support her books, support this author, because she is actively working to support us in every way that she can. And she's putting out incredible work that people need to read. All right, let's get into the show. We are coming back to back with Stephanie R. Bridges. Last week, you guys listened to her, and we talked about supporting Black business. We talked about building our businesses. We talked about some of everything, and it was almost like just sitting here with my sister having fun. And so we came right back so that we could spend a lot more time talking about Stephanie's business and her books. And we're going to dig into some of those today. Hey, Stephanie, thanks for joining me again.
Oh, thanks so much for having me again. I enjoyed our discussion last time so much. And, just in the midst of talking, you learn so much and so many different ideas and things to look into. So I appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. And what we're going to do today is we're actually going to dig into a lot of the material that you have built that's out in the marketplace. And we're going to have some conversations and discussions around your books, because we definitely want to get the messages that you put in these books for kids, for preteens, for teenagers and adults. I mean, you just kind of run the gambit of putting out content that is going to let Black children and young adults and even adults kind of see themselves and see their stories in the message. And I just love it. So I want to just hand it over to you. We've kind of got a little flow. We're going to get through these, but you know what you want to talk about, and I want you to talk about it. So yeah, let's get started.
Wonderful. Okay, so definitely I'm Stephanie R. Bridges, and I'm a writer, a publisher, a spoken word artist, and I just want to share some of the things that I've been doing. All of the books that I'm going to discuss, they're available on my website, stephaniebridges.com. And the first ones that I want to talk about are the children's books. So I've written 4 children's books, and I think they're great for ages 3 to 8. But of course, you are never too young. And also, they're great books for like older siblings. If they have nieces or nephews or little siblings, they can read to them as well. What I have done is I've written one book about each of my children. So the first book is If I Were Part of the Animal Kingdom, and that is about my son Khalil. And he's always loved animals. We actually have 3 dogs in our house because of Khalil. And he loves animals, but has never been one to like being told what to do. So his book is about him believing that, you know what, if I were part of the animal kingdom, I wouldn't have to listen to my mom and all these rules. I could just do my own thing. And then he quickly realizes that, animals have limitations too. So it's not so bad being a boy. The second book is about my daughter, Asha, and she's always loved school and the color blue. And she actually just graduated in May from Howard University. So go Bisons. And,
wow.
They're definitely blue. So
congratulations on that.
Yeah, I'm so excited for her. And she's always been our reader too. So, when everybody else was like, okay, what are we going to do today? She's like, I want to go to the library. Let's go to the library. And also in regards to school, I can remember times when there was like a blizzard outside and the, roads were dangerous, and she would just literally cry like, Mommy, please, I want to go to school. And we'd be out there trying to get her to school, and me and the other kids would be like, look, we want to live. Let's go home. So she's always been that girl. And that's what her book is about, just her exploring all the different things she can become. She can be an astronaut, a pilot, a horticulturist. She can be an activist. And it uses the simile of the color blue and just her thought processes and the way she enjoys education and utilizes it to do what she wants to with her life. The third book is about my son Jelani. And my son Jelani, he's very outgoing. He's very personable. He's actually going to be performing today because, he raps. But he's also kind of in the middle there. So growing up, he kind of felt like he wasn't getting the attention that, he desired or he needed. So he's kind of like, look, if you guys aren't going to pay attention to me, I'm going to fight the air. So his book is Fight the Air Guy. And it just kind of shows how, as a young person, when you're journeying through life, even, with your family, there comes those issues of how do I fit in and how do I stand out. And in this book, he realizes that he's definitely loved and he is our superhero. So he is Fight the Air Guy.
Okay.
And then the final book is about my youngest daughter. Her name is Nandi, and everybody dotes on her, all her older siblings, because she's the baby. But she's like, can y'all get along with each other? So she utilizes music and she gives them examples of how, we can all just get along. And she kind of takes on that role of glue, of the family. And just, it's a book that teaches us that as siblings, even if we don't start out always on the same page because there's those age differences and everything like that, it's so important to come together, even in our, older ages, because, you become, all you have, once your parents are gone and everything like that. So, a lot of my books, definitely adults relate to. They're like, oh, I'm this person or I'm that person in the family. So, everybody can kind of relate. But the book that I'm going to read from is If I Were Part of the Animal Kingdom. And so I said ages 3 to 8. So if I were part of the animal kingdom and my favorite color is blue, are probably best for like the younger ages in that spectrum.
Okay.
And because they're a little more simplistic, they, use some repetitive words and different things like that. And then as the books go along, they get a little more intricate and the, story kind of progresses. So those maybe are better for like older children. So, also something that I want to mention about my books that, I am an African-American writer. I am an African-American publisher, and I also utilize African-American illustrators. So if you purchase one of my books, that's one of the things that youth will see. They'll see a picture of me, they'll see a picture of the illustrator, and then they'll also see themselves as the main character. So it's definitely an opportunity not just to, see yourself as the main character, but also view yourself like, oh, I can be an author too, or yeah, I can be an illustrator. I'm a great artist. Let me start kind of figuring out these things now because, it can be done. In 2018, with, the use of websites and apps and different things like that, this is something that you can start doing now and start publishing their own books as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I love looking at the covers even here on your website. Not only did you use, Black illustrators, but you reached out to 4 different illustrators for these different projects. It's you're trying to support as many people in the community as possible. And that just ties back to what we talked about last week. I mean, you are walking the walk in all aspects. And so, yeah, I'd love to hear a little bit of what we've got in one of these books. Which one are we going to read from?
Okay, this is If I Were Part of the Animal Kingdom.
Okay.
All right. My name is Khalil, and I love animals, but I hate being told what to do. Don't say hey, my mom says, and it burns me through and through. If I were part of the animal kingdom, I wouldn't have to listen to rules. I'd be free to run wild and be my own child. And here is what I do. If I were a lion, I'd roar with the rest. When my mom says, it's time to come in, I'd rise up, nostrils flaring, and bang on my chest. Oh, lions can't do that. If I were a gorilla, I'd bang on my chest. When my mom says, it's time to clean up, I'd fly out the house buzzing and build my own nest. Oh, gorillas can't do that. If I were a hornet, I'd build my own nest. When my mom says, it's time to eat, I'd stick out my tongue hissing and hunt my own pest. Oh, hornets can't do that. So that is that book. It kind of goes through him, exploring what he would do if he was different animals and how he'd be free and be his own person. And then he realizes, animals definitely have limitations. But as a boy, he can kind of explore and pretend and use his imagination to do all those things and be all those things.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. That I think every household that has multiple kids probably has one of those. I've got 4 kids myself, and I was listening. And I was like, that's definitely my youngest daughter. Like she is imagination nation. Just I'll come home from work and she's got either school going on over here with the dolls, or she's an animal and this is the ocean, and it is exactly that.
Yes, definitely. Perfect. So you have to get the books. I can actually sign them for you. We'll have to get some books out to the children. And one thing I want to talk about in regards to the children's books. Now, this is for all the books, definitely, but specifically for the children's books, one of the things that I try to do is provide access. So something in the community that oftentimes we don't have is access to certain resources, whether they be for educational reasons or for entertainment. And, as a single mother of 4 children, I often found myself in that situation. So all of my children's books are available on YouTube. You can go to my website, or you can go to my YouTube channel, Stephanie R. Bridges, or StephanieRBridges.com. And that way you can, watch the books in their entirety. And it's something for, children to view, if you're busy, if you're doing something. It's something a little different than just, television or video games, because it actually speaks to them, their story, and who they are. So definitely take advantage of that. That's why I put them up there, because I want us to have access. And then the other thing that I try to do is book giveaways. So this year I actually had the opportunity to do 2. One was very small, kind of like last minute, but the second one I actually got to partner with I'm in Columbus, Ohio, with our recreation and park centers, and they do an annual event. And for this book giveaway, I was actually able to give away 100 books to all of the children that came out. I had my sister there and my daughters there, and it was exciting. It meant a lot to me. It's something that I've been wanting to do, and the way that I was able to do it is actually the community. So I kind of went on Facebook and I asked friends and family, and people donated so that we could do this book giveaway. Now, the other thing that I work on is getting sponsorships from banks. So coming up, I did get a bank sponsorship, and I'm going to say from West Banco, because I reached out to a lot of banks, including the bank that I bank at, and West Banco was the only one who was like, yeah, we're on board. There was another bank that said they were, but, it wasn't really their fault. Like, some dates got changed, and then they kind of backed out. But I just want to say that. So if you have a West Banco in your area, or banks in your area, go to them and ask them for sponsorships and for different things, and see what they say. And then that way you're able to see who is working with small businesses, who is interested in building with the Black community, and who is just interested, in our dollars. Now, of course, just because they might say no to a small business or a Black business, that doesn't mean they're not giving back in other ways. But it's important to find out that information. So they actually did a 100 book sponsorship for $1,000, and we're going to do that at the largest Head Start center. It's a group of centers, but we're going to do that for Child Development Council this month. And so that'll be my second big giveaway of 100 books to the children and families that come through. So that's one of the things that I want to mention. If you're interested in doing a book giveaway in your city, in your state, I'm so open. I'm so hyped. I would love, love, love to come out. So basically, it's $10 per book, which would be like 100 books for $1,000. And then, if you're outside of the city, outside of the state, there would be the travel cost as well. But I'm gonna go back a little bit because I want to be 100% clear. So what I did is I am a for-profit individual in business. Like I have my LLC, but it's me. I'm doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So when I go to banks, I always tell them about the organizations that I'm partnering with. So I build those relationships, first. So like I mentioned, Columbus Recreation and Parks, the Child Development Council of Franklin County, different local schools, different nonprofits, different organizations. So when the bank says, "Oh, okay, so you want me to give you $1,000, for what?" It's more so, okay, we have this opportunity to be a part of this annual event that Columbus Recreation and Parks does, or this family literacy event that the Child Development Council does. So that kind of, helps the situation as far as the bank, giving dollars.
Right.
So I definitely want to mention that. But, so, if you're interested or, if you're interested in finding out more information in regards to that, let me provide my email address. It's sbridges02@live.com. And that's sbridges02@live.com.
Awesome. So that is a really, really cool concept. The idea of I'm going to go to a bank. I'm basically going to say, hey, I want you to buy 100 of my books as a bank. And then they buy 100 of your books. You give those books away, but you're still, as the business owner, you're making the profit that you would make off of those books, and you're giving them away to the community. Or if you price them to where there's no profit and you're breaking even, it's still you're as a business going to a target customer who is making a donation to the community through you. I think that's a really, really cool kind of marketing model, and it helps the community. It helps kids. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yes, thank you so much for saying that. And I plan to continue moving forward with that. Not only, so it's kind of like twofold. So the organizations that, I reach out to, they have budgets too.
Mm-hmm.
But, for the most part, I'm saying, oh, okay, I'm going to, build the money. I'm going to get the money. Now with Recreation and Parks for next year, they have a number of different annual events. So I'm going to work towards them utilizing some of their budget as well. So it's kind of like if things go well and, the kids and the families love it and they're like, oh, we want to do this again. Okay, so this time can you, put some skin in the game as well. Mm-hmm. So, and then the other part of that is like once you do something and you have your picture out there, I need to add this to my blog as well. And, you thank the bank and different things like that. Then other banks can see that. Or you send them the pictures and this is what happened and this is what we do. Then other banks will start to see that and they'll be like, oh, okay, well, we'll do it. So sometimes, they want to see it in action before they actually say yes. Yes. So.
Absolutely. I want to back up real quick and I want to ask you a question. Your free books, the audio book that you have out on YouTube. Now, do you do the narrating on the YouTube videos?
Yes, that is my voice.
I love it because so as I was listening to you read from If I Were Part of the Animal Kingdom, I was like, oh, it's very obvious that she's definitely a spoken word poet. Like the way that you read your story is engaging in and of itself. So I think that's a huge value that you're putting out there allowing parents and kids and families to access the story and access it read the way that it's meant to be read directly from you right there on the internet. I love that.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much for saying that. It's funny, a lot of people say, oh, you sound like Maya Angelou, which is amazing, which is so honorable, and like what? But then my daughter is always like, why do you talk like that? Whenever I read a poem, she's like, why do you do that?
You can't please your kids though. Like the rest of the world will be telling you how great you are, and your kids gonna look at you like, oh my God, you're embarrassing me so much.
Right. Why are you using that voice? Like, that's not even. So yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I mean, and when you're an artist, you have to learn how to, be engaging and be a performer. We talked a little bit about that. I mean, a little bit about being in social settings, like when you're an introvert. And so a lot of it is, performance, and you have to really, get out there and, just make things happen. So I enjoy it.
That's really cool. So one last thing before we go into the next segment with Keep the Peace, but as you were talking about, your daughter's reaction, my first thought in my head is if my son, my oldest son is about to be 17, and if he did that, my reaction would be to start using that voice just in everyday talk whenever I was talking to him. Like that would just be that would be my thing, because I like bugging him. It's like, oh, this embarrasses you? Oh, okay. Then guess what? First thing in the morning, I'm using this voice whenever I talk to you. I want to see your eyes roll 50 times a day.
Right. Exactly. That's hilarious. Yeah. So, and she's the one who actually usually will go out with me. Like my oldest daughter will too. She was gone for a while, in school. But my youngest daughter, she'll go out with me and, help me when I'm vending or doing different events and things like that. So she's a lot of help, but she's also my assistant eye roller. So if anything goes wrong, I got lipstick on my teeth, I didn't, hand them the right color bag or something like that, she'll roll her eyes, and I'm like, can you communicate? Can you use your words?
Tell me what I need to fix?
Exactly. Yeah. So what?
That's awesome. So what's next? We started off with the kids' books, and so now we're moving on up the line. What do we have next?
Right. So the next book is Keep the Peace. And this is a compilation. So I worked with young ladies from the ages of 6 to 60, and everybody shared their picture. They shared a painting that they did, a short bio, and then they also shared some information about, how they get along with others. So some of them told stories about a time when they were bullied, or maybe they saw someone else bullied. Some of them did poems. Some of them just wrote a list of things that helped them to remain centered and at peace. So this is an excellent book for like middle school. I would say for middle school students, or even maybe like elementary, like 4th, 5th grade. This will be great as well. And there's actually activities in the back of the book. Like there's some pages where you can color. There's a maze. And it also has another book, a journal. So there's the book itself, and then there's a journal, so that when the young person is reading the book, they can write down their own thoughts as well. So they're really a part of doing exactly what it was that the other young ladies did who contributed to the book. And that just goes back to being a writer, being an author, sharing your voice. For young ladies especially, it is documented that we lose our voices at a certain age and don't regain them until we're older. So around that middle school, high school age, a lot of young ladies, they don't have their voice. So, and I was like that too. I didn't speak. I didn't say anything. And it took me a long time to regain my voice and start to utilize that. But wouldn't it be wonderful if, we could get our young ladies transition through that process without actually losing their voices and knowing that they are so important. And I don't know what exactly it is, but I don't know if there's so much focus on like the outer aesthetic of, young ladies, that they feel like, their words and what they have to say aren't of importance. This book can be utilized as a tool to kind of help through that process. And here's the first poem I'm actually going to read is kind of about that, losing your voice. So. Okay, so this is actually my daughter Asha Bridges' poem. She's the one who graduated from Howard recently, and her poem is Unknown Author. My name is lost between your thoughts and your mouth, somewhere jumbled up in all of your labels. My name does not matter. You already have an idea of me, a name for me. I've already been placed in a cardboard box, marked with permanent letters, and that is all of me. But it is hard to breathe here, hard to be free here, boxed in. I am boxed in, making myself small enough to fit your narrative, small enough not to be seen or heard, too small, small enough to not recognize who I am, small enough to believe that I am not enough. But I am done being small. I am more than enough. And my name is free.
Wow.
Yeah, she's a brilliant writer as well. So
yeah, that's powerful. I heard. I mean, I don't know what to say. That's the story, right? That's kind of the story of being a woman of color.
Yes, it definitely speaks to that, because we have lots of labels that we carry everywhere we go, and it can definitely be a burden. And it's definitely, we're put in a box, and it's like up to us daily. Like, are we just going to keep it pushing and let people believe and think what they want to believe and think? Or are we going to fight and be open and use our voice and say, no, this is the real me? But it's like, who wants to do that daily? You know what I mean?
It's exhausting.
Like morning, noon, and night. Yes. It's exhausting. So.
But I love that, when you talk about the target, demographic for this book, right? Like just that one poem, you see a girl like my oldest daughter, she's 9, she's gonna be 10 next month, and she loves writing. She loves writing, she loves sewing, she loves crocheting, she loves creating. She just does that.
Wonderful.
She writes, she writes her own books, she does all these different things, and she journals, she does all those, but because of kind of the way that that my wife runs the house, the kids they are encouraged to express their voice and their creativity and all these things. But, we worry going into this stage where life is changing and boys are going to be changing and the cat fighting between girls is going to be changing, and how she's going to react going through that, because she's a very sensitive person. And I can just kind of see a book like this where, young girls can go and they can just read and see, I'm not the only one who's feeling this. I'm not the only person who's gone through this. There's power inside of me. I feel the same power that I'm hearing in these words. I think it's a great tool to help them not lose their voice, get lost in feeling I'm just here in this box alone.
Yes. Thank you so much for saying that. I think it is. It's so important. And that's one of the things that I did, like, working with the young ladies, they would write something, and, you know, I was like, okay, wait a minute. You know, I'm an author. You know, I have a degree in English. How am I going to put this in a book? You know, how am I going to tweak it? You know, make it fit? And then it came to me like, why? You know, allow them to utilize their voice and say what it is that's on their heart. You know, definitely there's some editing, you know, there to make it more accessible and understandable. But I really wanted the young people to have freedom to say what it is that they want to say and not try to make it fit my narrative, because I think that's something that we try to do as adults. We ask, well, how do you feel about it? And then when they say how they feel, we try to change that feeling to kind of fit a little more better with the way we want them to feel. Mm-hmm. But it's so important that when we say, oh, use your voice, like your wife and your family is doing, that we allow them to use their voice, good, bad, and ugly. It's not always going to be, pretty and constructive all the time, but they need the opportunity to work through that. And you'll find that in this book as well. Some of the things that were written is kind of like, what happened? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So, but it is what it is, and it's important.
Well, and I like that we're coming to a place where we're evolving past that Black parenting of the last generation, where mm-hmm. Children are to be seen, not heard, and because I said so, and all exactly. these kinds of things, and where we are recognizing that these are developing human beings who need to mm-hmm. make mistakes. They need to be able to work through the thought processes of their problems. They need to be able to ask why and understand what's going on around them, and to question their world. Yes. Black children have to be given permission to, well, let me take that back. I didn't mean that. We need to stop thinking that it is on us to give or take away permission for Black children to question and explore their world. They're human mm-hmm. beings like every other person, and when they come here, it is their right and responsibility to explore their world, and we as parents have to get out of their way. Yeah. And I think this is a really, really good project. I'm looking for the word for it, but this is masterful. And then to have those poems, and then to feel something reading that, and then to say, I need to get something out of me. My journal's right here next to me. Like, the way that you mm-hmm. put this together is, it's incredible. I think it's incredibly powerful for young girls that age.
Yes. Thank you so much. Okay. Definitely. So let's, take a look at, I want to share one other one. Now, this mm-hmm. is a young lady. I think she's probably like 4th or 5th grade. Her name is Malia Jackson. And she wrote a list, and this is a list of stuff that helps you remain at peace. Exercising, racing, swinging on a swing, dancing, sleeping, jumping, painting, doing art, being in a competition, watching YouTube, stretching, flipping, doing a handstand, doing a back bend, humming, walking in circles. So that was her list.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
It's just her truth. That's just a capture of her truth of happiness.
Yes, definitely. And it, how it speaks to using that energy. So sometimes when we're not at peace and we're ill at ease, we have all of that energy within us. And if, we're able to do something physically, that can help our mental and our emotional state as well. And so that's an important message, not just for youth, but for adults, because youth, they know they want to go outside. They know they want to run. They know they want to, do different things to keep themselves active, whether it be dance or, listen to their favorite song. But as adults, sometimes we don't understand, why we're so stressed out and, why, we can't sleep. But if we would do some of those things like, exercising and running and doing a back bend and being in competition, that would help put our mind at ease. So
mm-hmm.
that's
I like
really
it.
important.
Now, mm-hmm. it's very, very clear that Keep the Peace and the Keep the Peace Journal are focused on, young ladies, on girls. The cover art shows that, the stories that are inside. What do you got coming out for the boys?
Yes, definitely. So it is on my heart every time, when I'm at an event and I'm explaining my books. It just tugs at me because I have to have something for young men. So basically what I'm going to do, I'm going to work. I started this book at a school called A+ Arts Academy. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to either work with them or another school to, be like the basis of it, because I want that to definitely be the start. The young men who are in elementary, middle school age, to be the foundation for that, and then kind of grow out from there to get the other contributors. But for this project, I'm definitely going to take a more hands-off approach. I'll still be the editor with the book, but I won't contribute a writing sample, and I'm going to try to not be as present because I want the young men to feel comfortable in kind of discussing things. So to give you a little better idea of how we did this, with the young ladies, I first met with them in the classroom. So, it was just myself and the young ladies. Mm-hmm. And then we did like a workshop. So it was myself, another woman, Cindy Price, who has a wonderful organization. And we came together with the young ladies. So I want the young men to have that same thing where, it's not all young men and then me as a woman saying, well, how do you feel about this? And what do you feel about, I want definitely the young men to have their own space and their own freedom to share and, to write what is on their hearts and on their minds, because keeping the peace for them, I don't want to say it's more important, but it's definitely as important. And I know it's a whole nother ball game. Just like, we talked about the young ladies losing their voice and everything like that. Young men definitely have that hyper masculinity, thing that comes into play where, you have to be a beast out here in the streets, in the hallways, in daily life. So
yeah, and we're
crucial.
We're taught that we are not allowed to emote, and mm-hmm. to feel emotion or to express emotion is not manly, or to feel pain, right? Or to feel mm-hmm. empathy for other people. I think all of that, what we call toxic masculinity, that's another one of those things where, we should be evolving past this, right? We should be getting to a point, especially in the Black community, where we let go of those limiting beliefs of what it means to be a man, because it not only hurts us, but it continues to put us in a situation where we're hurting women, we're hurting people who are in the LGBTQ community. Mm-hmm. We exclude everybody from being a whole human being because we grow up with this thought process that to be a human being means to be a masculine type male, and everybody else is somehow lesser than that because they emote or they want something different in life than what we're told is right, or anything that is not hegemonic masculinity. So I don't know what that book's going to look like. I'm guessing you probably don't know what it's going to look like either, but I would be very curious to find out what happens when you put a group of young men together and just kind of give them license and encouragement to just express what they feel.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you just said that, because that's just prime example of how in that space, as much as I want to empathize, I can't be a man. I couldn't say that or have that knowledge that you have, or have the experience that you have, of living what it is to be, a man, a male in this society, in this world. So it is so important that they have, someone there who's able to not only give them that license, that freedom to share, but also understand that, it has been taken away. Like, and it's also the idea, because you have to think a lot of people don't consider themselves writers. So you have that hurdle just to get them, to write something. But then you have the hurdle of, okay, I'm going to write this and my peers might see it. People are actually going to see it and read it. I think that's something that all writers go through, because we realize and recognize that everything we put down on paper, people are not going to like. Oftentimes the people who are closest to us, or sometimes we're sharing information that I would just never, you could call me, we can have, we can talk all day. I'm not going to tell you certain things, but I might write about those things. So you might find them, in my book or something like that. So I just, you just saying that just gave me more clarity on why it's so important that, there's men there, young men there like yourself, to really, help the book come to fruition.
Yep, absolutely. So where are we going next? We have kind of moved up from the children's book to the kind of middle-age book, not middle-aged, but young teenagers, adolescents book. So where are we going next? Where are we going on this journey?
Okay, we are definitely going to jump to adults. And the reason why we're going to jump to adult, I do have another book that would kind of fit in between, but these are the books that are available now. So all of these books that we've discussed so far, and this next one that I'm going to talk about, are all available now. Now, again, this is a book for adults. It is a book of poetry, and this is more so about my journey. So I am a recovering addict. I'm a single mother. I've been arrested a number of times, and it just, it shares that world, that process, and it's pretty raw. Now, I would say that it's okay if that young person, that teenager or what have you, is a person who's kind of living that same lifestyle. So if there's, someone in your life or in your family, and definitely read the book first before giving it to a young person, but someone in your life, in your family who is, promiscuous, or someone who is on drugs, or an alcoholic, or, having run-ins with the law. I did have an opportunity to work with some young ladies who were incarcerated, and, they were underage, but it was a good book for them. And then they shared some of their poems and some of their art. I mean, and you talk about a journey, you talk about deep. The biggest thing that I came out of that, after hearing some of their stories and some of their writing and some of their art, is that one of the most important things that we can do as adults is give children freedom to be children, to give them access to be children. One of the things that, I try to do as a parent of young children, and we all make mistakes. I mean, there's so many things I didn't do, but one of the things I tried to do was to not put my children in adult spaces. So oftentimes we feel like by doing that, we have to limit our children's behavior or our children's access. But really, as a parent, you have to limit your behavior, your access. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, you might want to listen to that song on the radio, but does your child need to hear that song on the radio? You might want to drink or get high or smoke cigarettes, but does your child need to see you doing those things? You might want to see somebody or have company, but is that something you want to put in front of your child? So as a parent, you have to say, you know what, I have to curtail some of my behaviors because I want to give my child freedom, access to be a child, you know, from the television shows that you watch, you know, and I'm not even going to go there. But, you know, from the music you listen to, from the shows you watch, you know, to the people you have over, you know, sometimes you really have to put limitations on that. And we have to give our children space to be children. And that doesn't even go into the whole predator state. Mm-hmm. Because those things I'm just talking about are just, you know, daily life where, you know, okay, we're living our lives and, you know, I told, you know what I mean? It's kind of that do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. But then you have the whole situation of the whole predator state where, you know, you have people preying on our youth. So definitely, this book is excellent for adults, anyone who loves poetry, and maybe any young person who is going through some of the things that I went through. And all of the poems are accompanied with scripture as well. So this book definitely has that religious aspect to it. So, you know, if you're someone who, you know, maybe you're not religious or not a Christian, but, you know, there's some Bible verses there. Sometimes, you know, just reading through the Bible, and believe me, I've done it. It's like, it's a process. Mm-hmm. But then I went back and kind of researched things for the book as well. But this makes things a little more accessible where, you know, you can kind of put some meaning to it. And the thing that's key to understand, I think, you know, specifically about this book and about its connection with the Bible and Christianity is that any and everything that you've done or thought about doing is already been done. Mm-hmm. So it's not a situation of, okay, well, you know, follow the scriptures so that, you know that you have sinned. It's more of, you know, follow the scripture so you know that this is humanity. This is human. These things that we do, these things that we go through are human. And that's the experience that we're having. So we are spiritual beings, but we're having a very human experience. Right. And once you can kind of come to terms with that and embrace your humanity and say, and, you know, step back and say, oh, you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. Hang in there. You know what I mean? You can understand that you're having a whole experience. Mm-hmm. So,
well, it's almost like the adult version of the Keep the Peace journal of you, as you're reading that as a young woman, you're realizing that you're not alone. Other people have gone through the same things that you're going through. And so you can continue going forward. And I think what you're describing is almost the adult version of that. You're looking into your life and you're looking into the scriptures and you're realizing I'm not reinventing this thing. Someone else has gone down this road before me. And there's also a roadmap for how to get out of it already in front of me. I think it's accomplishing the same thing, right?
Right. Definitely. And this book is it's about my journey. You know, I am a woman, but this one is good for, you know, young men as well. Anyone who enjoys poetry or wants to gain more insight, just into their kind of journey, whether they're dealing with alcoholism or addiction or, you know, promiscuity, just those things that we deal with as humans and it's especially as my, generation and older try to act like we never did none of that stuff. You know what I mean? Like we get so fraudulent when it comes to talking about young people and, you know, what they're doing and, oh, we can't believe, you know, the way they're dressing and the things that they're saying and, you know, and been there, done that. We did the same thing. You know, it's not on social media. So we have an opportunity to kind of, you know, pretend that, it didn't happen, but go to a family reunion or ask it, recently, like, I'm not going to tell my age, but my mother, who is in her 70s, I was asking her, she goes to a family reunion on her mother's side. So it's the Gaines family reunion. Probably shouldn't have said the name. But then there's some Gaineses who live here in the city. So I was like, oh, well, will the Gaineses that live here in the city, will they be at the, family reunion? Because I'm thinking the way that they're connected is she went to the family reunion. She was like, oh, they live in Columbus, or she saw them and she was like, oh, no, those are two separate families. And I'm like, what? She was like, yeah, I think my grandfather had like two separate families. So there's one Gaines in Florida, and then these are different ones. I probably shouldn't have said the name, but
it's all right.
But that's rampant. I mean, like that's you know what I mean? It's nothing new. We can pretend all day, but everybody has those family stories that you meet your cousin or you meet your sibling, when you're 35. So It is what it is.
So what are we gonna get from and what's the name of? Is it I SPAT, or
yes.
is that an acronym?
Yes, it is an acronym. So it's I SPAT, and it's in spirit, power, and truth.
Okay.
Poems inspired by God's grace and mercy. Okay, yes. So the first poem that I'm going to read is Black on Black. So, Black on Black is no longer a crime. It is companionship, relationship, marital bliss. Black on black is royal ethnicity, hues inner core, attributes ample breadth, afros outer radiance. Black on black cannot be escaped, watered down nor lamented. It is meant to be embraced. Black on black was never a crime nor a grievance. It is dark matter's explanation, the universe's reprieve, the earth's catalyst. Black on black is humanity's morning sun, God's gift. A mere thank you will suffice.
Wow, I love that. I love it.
Can
you tell me a little bit about kind of the inspiration for that poem?
Definitely. We hear so much on, the news and different things about, black on black, and I won't even say the word that comes next, but it's just, it is definitely a way to sabotage us as a community, even to say something like that.
Mm-hmm.
If there's no white on white crime or Asian on Asian crime or, any other moniker in that format, why in the world would we accept that for ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
So even to use those terms together makes our bodies criminality. So not only do other people see us, when they see black bodies as criminal bodies, we see that in and of ourselves. Mm-hmm. And it's something that, we freely say and, freely use as like it's some scientific, research thing that is really out there, when it is just something, made up, to, continue to put us, in prison, and, in the grave and not even, have a second thought about it. So.
Absolutely. Well, I don't think that we collectively realize how so many of the things that we accept about ourselves, or so many of the terms that we allow to be used to talk about us, are mm-hmm. things that were literally created purposefully for political gain, in order to paint us in a certain way so that people could take a certain action against us and not feel guilty about it.
Say that, yes.
So if we learn where these things come from, and we understand this is propaganda, that propaganda intended to dehumanize us, because once something is no longer human, it is mm-hmm. It's not a crime to kill a non-human, right?
Right.
Now, obviously there is, but when it's something that people care about, like a dog, right? But people
Yeah,
care
then it's a
about
crime.
dogs more than they care about us, right?
Exactly.
And so when
Mhm.
you dehumanize people by doing things like calling, a person a thug, or saying, oh, they don't even care about themselves. Look at what they're doing to
Mhm.
themselves. And it's purposeful, and it's not just us. And that's the thing that I think is really important. If we pay attention to how groups are talked about that we're expected
Mhm.
to hate and look down on, I've been in the military for 18 years, right? And so that's pretty much my entire career pretty much has been after 9/11. And
Mhm.
when you hear quote unquote smart people talking about how do we fix the problem in the Middle East, the first thing somebody says is, well, they've been killing each other for thousands of years. We're
Mm.
never going to change that. They just kill each other. So why should we care about killing them? It's
Right.
it's that same mentality is what's used to justify dehumanization. And these are not people, so don't care about them. So it sounds like what you're doing here is you're taking black on black back, because it's black people interact with black people in so many ways that have nothing to do with harming each other.
Mhm.
We uplift each other. We support each other. We love each other. It sounds like that's the story, the narrative that you're taking back.
Right, and that's the other part of it, is that so many people. Okay, so since we've been, given this faulty information and been brainwashed in this matter, we don't want to do anything black on black. Like we're looking for someone non-black to form relationships with. We're looking for someone non-black, to have children with. We're looking for someone non-black to live around and to build our homes, in our communities. Because now we've kind of, ingested the poison. And so, that's it. The other thing you did, is celebrating that blackness, that like we don't understand the wealth of who we are just in being. And other people do, when it comes to, the melanin in our skin, when it comes to the relationship of us with the earth and the universe. I mean, we don't get it. We don't understand. And so we try to cut it. We try to slice it. We try to mix it with something else, when all we're doing is getting rid of the richness, the beauty of who we are. So.
I love it. I love it. So have you got another one from In Spirit, Power and Truth for us?
Yes, definitely. So this one is entitled Right Now. First and foremost, I am black. So inexplicably, I was overtaken by becoming a woman. Finally, Christian became my name to claim. Right now, I am a spirit free of labels. I am no longer a disabled victim. I am a child of the Most High God. There is no limit in him, and he put no limit in me. You can chain me, beat me, hate me. I am still free to love you. You can delegate my rights, dominate my might, dictate my heights. I'm still free to submit. You can chastise my church, burn my Bible, crucify my Christ. I am still free to believe. Rising above what I have become, ascending to what I will be, there is no master, no man, no mask that can imprison me. Right now.
Wow. Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
What is the scripture that is a companion to that poem?
Okay, definitely. Let me find that one. Okay, so let me say that for the Black on Black, that was one of my most recent poems, and the Right Now was from. So this book has been published twice. So Right Now was from the original. So that's why I'm able to recite it without reading, because my memory has changed. So let me find. It's not the same as it once was. So let me find it in here for you. So Right Now, there's 2 scriptures with each poem, and then I'll read the one that, okay, so Galatians 5:1. Stand fast, therefore, in the liberty by which Christ has made us free, and do not be entangled again with the yoke of bondage. So what I do is I have one scripture underneath the title. So it says Right Now, 1 Peter verse 2, 15 through 17. So that one you would look up in the Bible, and then at the bottom, after the poem is over, Galatians 5:1, and that one is written out for you to read.
Okay.
So
I love it. That's a powerful platform. That's a powerful construct to put into your book, and I love that. I love that poem. So I'm gonna ask the same question. You know, where's the inspiration for that one? You said that one's from your original publication, so I'm gonna guess you were in a different place than you are now when you wrote that one. So what was the inspiration?
Yes, definitely. That's an important part, you know, of growth as a human being in our art as well. So I'm in a much different space, but at that time when I originally wrote that, I don't think I recognized all of what I was saying, but now I kind of recognize it a little bit more. It's just that situation of, you know, us being spirit, you know, 100% spirit, and also having that human experience. So that human experience is what, you know, has us in that bondage where, you know, as, you know, Black people, there's, you know, a certain bondage. As women, there's a certain bondage. As, you know, any religious group, it doesn't have to be Christian, it could be Muslim, it could be Hindu. There's a certain bondage. There's a certain stigma. There's a certain cross that you must bear, something that, you know, you carry with that. But with God, you know, he's all spirit. And he's like, remember, you're all spirit. You're all spirit. So just because someone treats you in a certain manner, you know, you don't have to treat them the same way. And I think in a sense, yes. And I think, okay, so let me say 2 things about this. Like in terms of hate, okay, so we realize and recognize that we're hated. And if you kind of step back and try to understand, well, why are we hated so much? If the dominant society, you know, has, you know, the resources, they hold the power, why the disdain for us? So when you start to recognize, oh my goodness, there must be something that we have. There must be something that they realize and that they recognize about us, that they continue to have this disdain for us. But as the original people, as the original man and the original woman, we are the parents to everyone. So it's very difficult for us to turn around and give that hate back. So I think that's sometimes why you know, the police will, you know, shoot a Black person, and then the first thing to do, the family will come out and say they forgive. Oh, I forgive Mr. Johnny. You know what I'm saying? So we come out and say we forgive, because we don't realize and recognize that comes from us being the original people, the creators. Okay. So we have that closest relationship, with spirit, with universe, with however you want to say it. So it's just like having children. Even if your children does something horrible and they go to prison, it's very difficult for you to, hate your child. You might separate yourself. You might understand what it is that they've done and why they have to be punished or, what's going on. But it's very difficult to turn around and have that same disdain, that same hate that people feel towards us. So that's one part of the poem. I'm still free to love you. But the other thing that we have to realize and recognize, yeah, I can love you, but I don't have to invite you in my house because I know you're going to steal from me. It's historic. I mean, there hasn't been a time when you haven't. And it doesn't matter if it's an invention, if it's my child, it doesn't matter what or who it is, you are a taker. So I can definitely, keep you at bay, keep a distance, and I don't have to, invite you in and, play this game of, if I just get the right education, if I just speak right, if I just marry the right person and get the right, they're going to love me then. No, they're not, because there's not the same relationship that they have to us that we have towards them. They realize and recognize that we are the original. So they carry that envy. That is in their heart. It's not going to go away. And then the situation and I'll speak to that. I won't speak to the religious part, but just as far as relationship is concerned. So my thoughts on that. I kind of feel like when you're in a relationship with someone, that is sort of like having an item. So you have your house, you have your car, you have this human being. Now, that doesn't say that being that the human being has the value or, the car. Of course, the human being is just as important or more important than you are because, you are both human beings. But I feel like it is the best and the most important of all the items or merchandise or things that you could own is another human being in that relationship. So if you weren't so when I say that from a woman's perspective, there's a lot that women go through as far as moving up in society, as far as jobs are concerned, as far as being treated well, within the household. I think we're kind of in a situation now where the expectation is, the woman will, take care of the children, she'll cook, she'll clean, but she'll also go out to work. Okay. So you hold down that same job, you have to have that same good credit score. Oh, and you have to look good. So make sure your hair, your nails, your toes are done. So we got all these balls we're juggling up in the air. I think it's kind of changing where men are kind of realizing and recognizing that, okay, so there needs to be a little more balance here as far as the household situation is concerned. So if my expectation is that my wife, work a 9 to 5 and I work a 9 to 5, well, then I need to do just as much, within the household. If my expectation is, at all times she has to be a dime, well, then I need to try to, hold up my end of the bargain as well, in that aspect. So I think things are kind of changing, but right now it's definitely very lopsided. So in my poem, I'm saying that, you can still do all these things and say all these things. I'm still free to submit. I'm still free to be in this relationship. I'm still free to say, yes, my love, husband, whoever, I will do these things for you. I do have that freedom there. But I also think it's very important for women to know that just like you won't die if you don't have a house, just like you won't die if you don't have a car, you will not perish if you are not in a relationship. And I think that's a societal construct that we believe that we have to be in relationship. And I think a lot of women don't fulfill what they're here on this earth to do and accomplish and be, because they always want to play that second fiddle. They think their highest height is the man, you know, that they go to bed with at night. Mm-hmm. Like, look who my husband is. You know what I mean? And that's their, you know, we grow up with that dream. Oh, who am I going to marry? Is it going to be a baller? You know, that type of thing. But so, you know, the poem says both of those things. You know, I'm free to submit, but relationship doesn't have to be for everyone. And it is. It's just like, you know, I'm single. It's just kind of like, you know, a relationship that you would have with, you know, anything else. But I agree, it's the best one. It's the hardest one to maintain. It's a lot of work, and I feel like it's definitely worth it. But it's not the end all be all. And don't let people tell you that somehow you're missing something, you know, in your life if you don't have that spouse, that significant other. So.
That makes sense. I get it. That makes sense. I love it. Well, I think that now I'm having a hard time calling it ISPAT because now I know it's In Spirit, Power, and Truth. So I think In Spirit, Power, and Truth as a book, I think that's just it's an incredibly powerful thing. I feel like there's probably a lot of people listening in the audience who are going to be clamoring to get that book. And speaking of books that people are going to be clamoring to get, it seems like there may be something that's coming on the near horizon that you wanted to talk about as well.
Woo! Okay. So yes. So I am working on my 8th publication. So that's the story of my life. And this is a book of short stories. There'll be between 20 to 30 short stories, and then also some poems as well. And it will be available for pre-order in the month of August. So coming up here soon. So definitely continue to check back to my website, or you can go to Amazon. Go to Amazon.com and search Stephanie R. Bridges. So definitely use my middle initial R, and all of my books will come up, and it will be available for pre-order the month of August, definitely, hopefully by the August the 15th. And then it will be released, sent out to you if you pre-order, or, you know, you can order it on September the 1st. And I will definitely have that book available in ebook and paperback. The children's books are also available in ebook format now as well. So if you want to go on Amazon, you can, you know, get that in either format.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have a reading from That's the Story of My Life that you wanted to share today, just to kind of give people a little teaser?
Yes, definitely. So I'll do one. Now this story is called Dandelion House. And it's kind of like a triptych where, you know, there's 3 parts to an artist rendering. Well, there's 3 separate, you know, parts to this story. So they kind of even have like different voices and, you know, different stages. But I'm going to read the first portion of the 3 parts. And this is from Dandelion House, from That's the Story of My Life. Dandelions are a child's first flower, abundant, brilliant, sunshine sprouting past the earth. You can't catch me, you can't catch me, they chant in unison like the children who pick them one by one. Dandelions make up a mother's first spring bouquet, as both mother and child delight in the wonder of God's creation and first love. Mommy, this is for you. As the years go by and the heads of dandelions get popped off in childhood rituals that mimic maternity and childbirth, somewhere in the midst of all the magic, the secret is shared. But not in a whisper, like any respectable secret is told. No, nothing hushed or considerate about its spread. Stop picking those things. They're weeds. Weeds? Now they no longer convey sunshine, spring, or new birth. The white wispy wishes, so fun to blow through the air, have turned into poison truth. But how do you tell a dandelion? A little black girl birthed special by Mother Earth herself to stop emerging, stop dancing with breezy blue skies, stop being easy on sunny summer days. Quit playing, laughing, enjoying life. You ugly. A weed, unwanted, with poisoned seed. Nah, the dandelion just gonna keep growing until you forced to pick it up and see the butter reflected on your chin. All right. So that's the first part of that.
That's powerful. That's powerful. That's painful too.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a heartache. You know what I mean? It is. It's definitely that.
Absolutely. So now I'm looking forward to that book. That just sounds like I want to hear more of that story. I want to see where that's going.
Right.
You do a really good job of making people want to read your stuff.
That's what I'm supposed to do. Definitely get the books, and that's the other key part about writing, is that someone else will read the book and they'll be like, oh, so yeah, you meant this and that and the other, and you're thinking like, oh, that's better than what I was thinking. You know what I mean? So everybody has their own relationship, with a story, with a poem. Their own understanding, which could be deeper or more metaphorical than what the writer even had in mind. So definitely get the book. I love feedback. And one of the things that is needed and necessary in my situation, but lots of independent authors and publishers, are reviews. So please, if you pick up one of the books, definitely do a review on Amazon, because when people see those, and an honest review, when people see those, they're like, okay, so people are buying this book. It's kind of like that stamp of approval. Nobody wants to be the first one or the only one, but if they see more reviews in regards to the pieces, they'll be more apt to get them themselves. So. Absolutely.
And as we wrap this up, we have to come back full circle to the fact that, one, as an author, you're already very, very accomplished. I mean, everything that you share with us today it's material that I'm going to buy, and I want to put it in front of my kids and my family, because it's just that good. But even in that, you're going later on this year to the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business conference with Joylyn Ross, and going to even take those next steps to kind of develop and take your business a little bit further. So we didn't have the context last episode when we talked about this, but now kind of hearing where you are as an author and the material that you have both published and on the way, I want to know now kind of what it is that you plan on getting out of the conference, and kind of what are your next steps? What are we going to see coming from Stephanie Bridges coming out of the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business conference?
Definitely. So before I even start, I want everybody to go to path2publishing.com, and that's path2publishing.com. And then if you click on the conferences events, you'll see the Act Like an Author, Think Like a Business 2018 conference in Las Vegas, September 20th through the 22nd. So definitely take a look there. And there's also, a wealth of information on this platform. And this is Joylyn M. Ross, who is a very accomplished author, agent. She's been published by major publishing houses. She's self-published. She's an editor. She just knows the book business so well. And that's the thing. I've been doing this for some years and working on honing my, writing skill and my craft. But, if this is what I want to do, it has to be a business. So, it kind of hit me one day, like, these are my babies, but I literally have to pimp them out on the street. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, it's like you want to hold them dear and near, but, I have to gain that business acumen. So that is why I'm going to this conference, because I'm trying to move to the next level. The other thing we just talked about, is, working a job and then trying to do your passion and trying to have a balance and everything. And that's where I am right now. But I definitely want to get to, a point where, my job is my business. And that is a thing that earns me money and sustains, myself and my family. And that is something that Joy Lynn has been able to do, but also help other people get there. So it is a 3-day conference, and I'm just going to quickly tell you what you will learn on each day. Here, let me scroll. And I also get the opportunity to be a presenter. I spoke last time about getting a grant. So I'll be talking about, getting some grants and getting some money for some of the things that you want to do. But day 1 of the conference is building your book from the ground up. So even though I've written these books and I've published these books, I've made mistakes. There are books that are out there that, I could do differently and, things that, since I'm the publisher, I have access to, so I can still make those changes. Mm-hmm. But even in like formatting and when to release a book. So one big point is that's the story of my life. This is going to be an actual book release. My other books, they're available on Amazon, and then I put like a Facebook post like, yeah, get my book. But there's actually a process to having a successful book release. So that's something that you can learn, and she'll walk you through step by step. Also, if you're writing your first book, or like me, you're on your 8th, still there's information to gain. On day 2, it's going to be building your literary business from the ground up. So then it kind of shifts from building your book to building your business. And this is teaching authors and writers how they should be operating as a business. And this is so important. If this is something that you want to do and something that you want to, continue to do, then you need to learn how to make money doing it. Like, there's no way in the world. We have so many creatives, so many people who have excellent skills and an excellent voice and just information and art that should be shared and that everyone should see, but we don't get access to them because they don't have an opportunity to do it because they're not making money from it. So That's day 2. Day 3 is turning your book into a business. So I'm a writer. That is what I do. But oftentimes people aren't necessarily writers. Maybe you have some other business owner, but some type of other business, but you want to have a book, and you can kind of use your book as a vehicle to earn money as well. So this is teaching writers, authors how to earn money beyond book sales by creating multiple streams of income. So, like in the case of you, Gerald, you have your podcast and you have this platform where you're sharing all these resources and information of how people can support Black businesses. And so that's the passion, that's the foundation of it. But then you have a book, so people can say, oh, okay, so and you're a reader. So, people who are readers and want to get that information or find out, how you got started and what you're doing, you might want to have a book as another stream of income. So that's going to be on day 3. It's just how to open up those streams and keep them flowing, so you get to that overflow, where we all want to be. Because we have a heart to give back, and it's hard to give back when you're operating from a deficit.
Absolutely. Well, I love that. And this has been just yet another of these great conversations that, it's hard to explain. I feel at home when I'm talking to you, and
Cool.
that is awesome because I don't live
Yes.
near home. I live up in Nebraska, and every time I go home to Arkansas, like the first thing I do is, go to mom's house, go to my grandma's house, and then I go visit my cousins, and we just sit around
Mhm.
and we just talk because, when you're separated, you don't really get to have that freedom, that feeling. You kind of have to put the shell on all the time, and so
Right.
it's great to connect with somebody like you where we can just kind of take the airs off and just communicate and share and enjoy it. So, thank you for bringing your stories back, and thank you
Mhm.
for also giving us those details about the conferences coming up. I'm still planning on going, so hopefully we'll be able to connect there
Yes.
as well.
Oh, I
Um,
hope you make it. That would be so exciting to have the opportunity to meet you face to face. So.
Indeed. So last time we ended the show with your number one piece of advice for the Bi Black community. I want to end the show this time with your number one piece of advice for anybody out there who has a story or two inside of them, but they don't feel like they have a voice. What's your number one piece of advice for them?
Oh, wow, definitely. So my number one piece of advice is just to share your story. And it doesn't, I mean, yes, we want you to write a book and that would be great, but it doesn't have to be in the format of a book. You can start off by telling your story. So many times we have things within us that we just hold on to, that we just carry. And it's important to share that information with someone else, not just so, it can be cathartic for you. That's one major point. But also sometimes you'll see, maybe a young person or another person who's going through something. And when you share your story, that, again, they're like, oh, wow, I'm not the only one going through this. You've been through this too. And, you made it over, you made it out. So share your story. Oftentimes people, are orators. So it might be a situation where, you are a storyteller. I love storytellers. If you've ever been in a situation where, people, there might be drums and then there's someone maybe singing or humming something, and then you have the actual storyteller who's kind of taking you on this wispy journey. And that's something I admire so much. That I might one time, at some point in time, try to kind of learn a little bit more about. It's such a respected art, but you could be, a storyteller in that sense. And then, also always, you can write down your stories and publish. I have information that I can share, with you. The last time I spoke about my Patreon page, and it's patreon.com/Stephanie R. Bridges. So if you want to join that, I can, share any information to help you on that writing journey. It doesn't have to be a full-length book, though. Sometimes it's an ebook. Sometimes it's a downloadable PDF. So you might have a website or something like that. Or, and blog. You could be a blogger. So there's so many different aspects, so many different ways. I watch a lot of YouTube. They have something on there like storytelling where people get on there and share their stories and tell their stories. And a lot of times it's something that they went through that was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this is happening. But since it's like years later or weeks or however later, it's like hilarious. So, you're laughing, cracking up, like, your wig fell off or, something like that. But open up, share your story, and allow the journey to move you.
Awesome. That is awesome. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much again. I enjoy it every time we get to talk. This episode is going to change lives, and I highly encourage everybody listening. If you heard a piece of a story, if you heard a poem, if you heard a message today in Stephanie's work that touched you, moved you, or that somebody else needs, then reach out to her, reach out on Amazon, buy the books, share the books. And to reiterate, if you work in an organization or if you want to create an opportunity for a book giveaway for people in a nonprofit organization or just folks in need, reach out to Stephanie and she can get that organized for you so that we can get this message to as many people as we can, because we need to see representation as authors, as illustrators, and as the main characters in these stories for our children, our teenagers, and us as adults. So thanks so much, Stephanie. And any final words before we get out of here?
I just want to thank you so much for having me again. You are such a wonderful communicator and so polished. So I love how I can kind of say something and then you can say it in a way, so that there's more understanding for, different people, because you got to reach people where you are. And I think that is, so important that you're able to do that. So, precisely. I just love what you're doing. So I plan on going back and listening to all of your podcasts just so I can, get some information and grow as well as someone who's interested in supporting the Black community and Black businesses, but also as a business owner myself.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, and thank you guys for being out there listening. That is it for Buy Black Podcast, episode number 49. We're out of here, and we'll catch you next week.
Thank you. Bye-bye.